The closer they came to the source of the signal, the more the tension aboard the ISS Pioneer became unbearable. The once faint, distant signal had grown loud and undeniable. It wasn't just a signal anymore, it was a presence. An ancient presence, and it was drawing them in. Elise had seen many strange things during her time as captain, but nothing like this. The ship's sensors couldn't pinpoint exactly what they were approaching. The once familiar stars had been replaced by vast, eerie structures that stretched beyond what their minds could comprehend. They were no longer navigating through space. They were navigating through the remnants of something far older than humanity. "What are we walking into?" Elise asked, her voice quieter now, almost a whisper. The sound of her own words felt hollow in the vast expanse. Lucas stepped beside her, his expression grim. "Whatever's out there, it isn't just a signal. It's something ancient. Something that's been hiding in the shadows of space for eons." The massive structures loomed in the distance, unnatural shapes drifting silently. They were unlike anything humanity had encountered before, imposing, geometrically precise, and clearly artificial. They didn't radiate life or energy. They were simply there, old, and seemingly lifeless. "Do you think they've been waiting for us?" Lucas asked. Elise didn't have an answer. The thought haunted her. Had these beings, whoever, or whatever they were, been watching humanity this whole time? Had they seen Earth rise, struggled through centuries of isolation and hardship, and remained silent? The ship's scanners picked up anomalies in the structure of these ancient shapes. They weren't stars or planets but monumental, hollowed-out masses, vast, interconnected pieces of a civilization long lost to time. Yet they felt alive, pulsating with something far older than they could grasp. "Their signal isn't just coming from a location," Lucas said. "It's coming from inside these structures." Elise glanced back at him. "Inside?" Lucas nodded. "It's like they've embedded themselves into the fabric of space itself." The crew watched from the observation deck, their faces pale under the dim lighting of the Pioneer. Every step deeper into this unknown territory felt like walking into a trap they couldn't understand. "Why haven't they made contact?" one of the younger crew members asked, his voice trembling. Elise shook her head. "Maybe they don't want to be found." The Pioneer drifted closer to the ancient structures. The once faint signal now pounded in their ears like a heartbeat, relentless and unstoppable. The vast, empty corridors of the structures extended into infinity, stretching toward the edges of the galaxy. The emptiness was deafening. "Captain," Lucas said, his voice carrying a note of urgency. "The signal, it's getting stronger. They're aware of us." Elise's stomach twisted. "They're watching." It wasn't just a feeling anymore, it was reality. The structures seemed to react to their presence, as if they had always been waiting for something, or someone. The silence wasn't an absence, it was a presence, a waiting, a judgment. "What do they want from us?" Elise whispered, staring out at the colossal shapes. Lucas didn't have an answer, and neither did anyone else on board. The only certainty was that the unknown was drawing closer, tightening like a noose. Humanity had always been the younger race in the galaxy, forever fighting against impossible odds. But what if the beings waiting in the shadows weren't the younger species after all? "Elise," Lucas said, his voice strained. What if we're not the ones they've been waiting for?" Elise didn't reply. She couldn't. The gravity of those words hung in the air like a storm on the horizon. Whatever awaited them, it wasn't just a confrontation, it was the revelation of a truth they weren't ready to face. Humanity had always believed they were alone in the galaxy. But what if that belief was a lie? What if they had underestimated the beings that had been watching, waiting, hiding, for far longer than they had ever existed? The silence on the ISS Pioneer was suffocating as the ship drew closer to the source of the enigmatic signal. The vast structures ahead loomed larger with every passing moment, their size dwarfing anything humanity had ever encountered. These ancient constructs weren't just ruins, they were monuments to something so old that even the stars seemed young in comparison. The crew moved through their tasks with tense precision, each of them acutely aware of the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. "Captain, the signal is no longer static," Lucas Carter said, his voice tight with a mix of awe and fear. It's changing. Adapting. Almost as if it's learning. Elise Callahan turned to him, her brows furrowed. Learning? Are you saying it's intelligent? Lucas hesitated, his fingers dancing across his console. I'm saying it might not just be a signal. It could be a message. Or even a call. The words hung in the air like an ominous echo. A call. But to whom? And why now, after humanity had wandered the stars for centuries without a whisper from the cosmos? The Pioneer's scanners continued to ping erratically as the ship approached the outer edge of the massive structures. Each scan revealed more unsettling details, vast corridors that stretched endlessly, enormous chambers that seemed to defy gravity, and intricate patterns etched into the metal-like surfaces that pulsed faintly as if alive. These weren't just ruins. They were functional. Waiting. Captain, I've got something else. Lieutenant Harper, the ship's navigator, called out from her station. Her voice wavered slightly. The structures, they're emitting energy. Not just residual power. It's deliberate. Focused. Elise walked to Harper's station, her eyes narrowing at the readings. Focused on what? Harper shook her head. I don't know. But it's aligning with our ship's trajectory, almost as if it's tracking us. Lucas spoke up from his station, his tone grim. They know we're here. Elise felt a chill run down her spine. Increase shields and prep for evasive maneuvers. I don't want us caught off guard if this turns hostile. As the crew scrambled to comply, the signal grew louder, more insistent. What had once been faint and indistinct now carried an almost rhythmic quality, patterns that seemed to form a language none of their systems could decode. Yet it felt familiar in a way that was deeply unsettling. This is no accident, Lucas muttered, mostly to himself. Whatever sent this signal wanted us to find it. The Pioneer edged closer to what appeared to be the main hub of the structures, a massive, spherical construct that dwarfed the ship. It was riddled with openings that seemed like entrances, though none of them were inviting. The surface of the sphere shimmered faintly, as if it were both solid and not, like the boundary between two realities. Captain, we're being scanned, Harper reported, her voice rising in alarm. The energy readings are off the charts. Elise clenched her fists. Is it an attack? No, Lucas said quickly, his eyes glued to the data streaming across his screen. It's an analysis. They're studying us. The ship's lights flickered briefly as the scanning process intensified. The Pioneer's systems struggled to interpret the strange energy interacting with them, and the crew braced for the worst. But then, just as suddenly as it had started, the scanning stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. Report, Elise barked, her voice cutting through the tension. Everything's stable, Harper said, though she sounded far from reassured. But, Captain, there's something you need to see. Harper brought up a visual feed of the sphere. The shimmering surface now displayed symbols, intricate, flowing designs that shifted and morphed in real time. They weren't random. They were deliberate. A message. Lucas leaned forward, his face pale. Those symbols, they're ancient. Pre-human, maybe. But there are patterns, mathematical sequences. It's like they're trying to communicate. Elise's gaze hardened. Can we respond? Lucas shook his head. Not yet. We don't know enough. If we send the wrong message, we could provoke them. As the crew deliberated, the Pioneer's sensors picked up another anomaly. A smaller, distinct signal began emanating from within the sphere. Unlike the larger transmission, this one was focused and precise, directed specifically at the Pioneer. It's inviting us in, Lucas said, his voice barely above a whisper. Elise stared at the massive structure, its swirling symbols and eerie stillness radiating both mystery and menace. The idea of entering it felt like crossing a threshold they could never return from. But they had come this far. The signal had drawn them here for a reason, and turning back now wasn't an option. Prepare a landing party, Elise said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. We're going in. The team assembled in the ship's hangar, their faces a mix of determination and trepidation. Elise led the group, with Lucas by her side, his equipment slung over his shoulder. They boarded a small shuttle and launched toward the sphere, their path illuminated by the faint glow of the structure's surface. As the shuttle approached, one of the openings expanded, creating a pathway that led into the heart of the sphere. It was as if the structure itself had come alive, responding to their presence. The interior was both breathtaking and unsettling, vast chambers filled with swirling lights and floating constructs, their purposes unknowable. "This isn't just a structure," Lucas said, his voice filled with awe. "It's alive. In some way, it's alive." The team pressed on, their steps echoing in the vast emptiness. The signal grew stronger with each step, guiding them deeper into the sphere. At last they reached the core, a massive chamber filled with a pulsating, ethereal light. In the center was a platform, and on it stood a figure. The figure was humanoid but unmistakably alien. Its form shimmered like liquid metal, its features constantly shifting. It radiated an aura of both wisdom and power, and as it turned to face them, the crew felt an overwhelming sense of insignificance. The figure raised a hand, and the signal ceased. In its place, a voice echoed in their minds, a voice that was ancient, resonant, and utterly commanding. "Humans," it said, "we have been waiting for you." The chamber was impossibly vast, stretching beyond the limits of sight. The pulsating light from the core illuminated the alien figure standing before the landing party. It shimmered like liquid silver, its constantly shifting form both mesmerizing and unnerving. The voice that had spoken directly into their minds left an eerie stillness in its wake, as if the air itself had become heavier. Elise Callahan gripped her weapon tighter, though she knew it would be useless against something so advanced. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice echoing faintly in the cavernous space. The figure tilted its head, an action that seemed almost curious. "We are what remains of the custodians," the voice answered. It didn't speak in words, yet its meaning was crystal clear, resonating directly within their thoughts. "We were here long before the first stars burned in your galaxy. And we have watched silently, as your kind stumbled into the void." Lucas stepped forward, his hands trembling. You've been observing humanity?" he asked, his voice wavering. The figure's form rippled, as if considering the question. "Observing. Waiting. Assessing." The tone carried neither malice nor warmth, only an overwhelming sense of authority. "You are young, yet older than you know. The answers you seek are embedded in the origins of your existence." Elise narrowed her eyes. "If you've been watching, why reveal yourselves now? What do you want from us?" The chamber pulsed with light as the custodian paused. "Because your time has come. The signal you followed was a test. One you have barely passed. And now, a choice lies before you." A low hum filled the chamber, and the walls began to shift. The landing party instinctively stepped back, their eyes darting around as the core of the sphere came alive. Strange symbols and patterns appeared, spiraling around the custodian. "What kind of choice?" Elise asked, forcing herself to remain calm despite the growing tension. The custodian's voice deepened, carrying a weight that felt like the weight of eons. "You are not the youngest race in the galaxy, nor are you the most primitive. Yet you are unique. Your resilience, your defiance of natural order, these traits have allowed you to survive where others have failed. But the galaxy is vast, and many races consider you insignificant. If left unchecked, they will destroy you." A cold silence followed. The implications were clear. Lucas's eyes widened. "You're saying, the other species already know about us?" "They know," the custodian replied. "And they fear what you may become. But their fear will not keep them from acting. They see you as children playing with fire in the dark. A danger to yourselves and to others." Elise felt the gravity of the revelation hit her like a blow. Humanity, struggling for centuries to find its place among the stars, had unknowingly become a target for its potential. And this ancient being was offering them something, but at what cost? "What's the choice?" Elise asked, her voice hard and steady. The custodian raised its shimmering hand, and the chamber shifted again. A holographic display appeared, showing countless star systems interconnected by vast networks of energy. Among them, Earth stood out, a fragile blue dot surrounded by pulsating red markers that grew with each passing second. You can submit, the custodian said. Allow the Galactic Council to control your development, ensuring that you pose no threat. You will survive, but you will remain subservient. The image shifted, showing Earth as a barren wasteland devoid of life. Or you can defy them, the custodian continued. Fight for your place among the stars. It will be perilous. Many will perish. But in doing so, you will have the chance to rise above and claim the legacy that is rightfully yours. The crew stared at the images in stunned silence. The gravity of the situation was almost too much to bear. Submission meant survival, but at the cost of freedom. Resistance meant war, with no guarantee of victory. Lucas broke the silence. Why do you care? If you've been watching us for so long, why not intervene before now? The custodian's form shimmered again, its voice softening slightly. We do not interfere. We are the record keepers, the watchers. But we see something in your species that others do not. A spark that has endured countless trials. If nurtured, it could reshape the galaxy itself. We offer you this choice because you must decide who you truly are. Elisa's mind raced. The weight of humanity's future pressed heavily on her shoulders. They were explorers, not soldiers. How could they possibly stand against an entire galaxy? Yet the thought of submitting, of being controlled, was unthinkable. Before she could respond, the chamber pulsed again, and a new vision appeared. This time, it showed humanity's history, not as they remembered it, but as it truly was. Ancient civilizations long forgotten, technology far beyond their current understanding, and a connection to the custodians themselves. Lucas gasped. This can't be. Are you saying humanity is? Yes, the custodian said, cutting him off. You are not the younger race you believe yourselves to be. You are the remnants of an elder race that once ruled the stars. But you have forgotten, lost in the sands of time. Now you must choose whether to reclaim what was lost or let it fade forever. Elise felt a surge of defiance rise within her. Humanity's potential wasn't just a possibility, it was a birthright. But unlocking it would mean risking everything. What happens if we choose to fight? She asked. The custodian's form steadied, its voice resolute. Then we will guide you, as we once guided your ancestors. But know this, the path will be fraught with hardship. The galaxy will not bow willingly. Elise turned to her crew, their faces reflecting the same mixture of fear and determination that burned within her. They were explorers, yes, but they were also survivors. And now, they had a chance to become something more. She turned back to the custodian, her decision clear. We choose to fight. The chamber erupted with light, and the custodian's voice boomed in their minds. Then prepare yourselves, humans. The stars will tremble at your awakening. The chamber pulsed with an intensity that made the walls themselves seem alive, resonating with a crescendo of energy as Elise declared humanity's choice. The custodian's shimmering form expanded, becoming almost too brilliant to look at, its voice now layered with an ancient authority that shook the landing party to their core. So be it, the custodian intoned. You have chosen defiance, as was expected. The legacy of your ancestors lies dormant, but it can be rekindled. Prepare, for the galaxy will not allow you to rise without resistance. Before Elise could respond, the chamber began to transform. The pulsating lights shifted into intricate streams of data, flowing like rivers around the team. The patterns coalesced into something tangible, devices, schematics, and structures forming before their eyes. These weren't just tools, they were weapons, technologies far beyond anything humanity had ever conceived. Lucas stepped forward, his breath catching as he examined the floating constructs. This is impossible, he stammered, his hands trembling as he reached out to touch a holographic schematic. These designs, they're centuries, no, millennia ahead of us. Not ahead, the custodian corrected. Forgotten. Your kind once wielded such power, but arrogance and time buried it. Now it is yours to reclaim, if you are worthy. Elise took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. What do we need to do? The custodian gestured, and the streams of data surged toward the landing party, engulfing them in a cascade of light. Images flooded their minds, star charts, battle formations, and memories that felt as if they belonged to someone else but resonated deeply within them. You must awaken the forges of your ancestors, the custodian explained. The remnants of your empire lie scattered across the galaxy, hidden in places the Council dares not tread. Seek them out. Rebuild. Only then will you stand a chance against what is to come. The lights receded, leaving the team standing in a chamber that now felt different, less imposing, more inviting. In their hands, small, crystalline devices materialized, each glowing faintly. These keys will guide you, the custodian continued. But know this, the Galactic Council is already aware of your awakening. They will not wait for you to arm yourselves. The first of their fleets is already on its way. A heavy silence fell over the group. They had barely begun to comprehend the weight of their decision, and already the consequences were rushing toward them. Elise turned to her team, her expression resolute. We need to return to the Pioneer. If there's even a chance we can use this knowledge to fight back, we can't waste any time. As they prepared to leave, the custodian spoke one last time. You carry the hopes of a forgotten lineage. Do not squander it. The journey back to the ship was tense, every shadow and flicker of light feeling like the harbinger of some unseen threat. When they finally boarded the Pioneer, Elise called for an emergency briefing. The crew gathered in the main conference room, their faces reflecting a mixture of fear and determination. Elise placed the crystalline device on the table, its glow casting strange patterns on the walls. This, she began, is the key to humanity's survival. We're not just explorers anymore. We're warriors in a battle we didn't even know we were fighting. Lucas stepped forward, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. The custodian's data has already started integrating with our systems. If what it showed us is accurate, we can retrofit the Pioneer into something capable of holding its own against the Council's forces. Elise nodded. But that's just the beginning. The custodian said we need to find the forges of our ancestors. That means venturing into uncharted space and confronting whatever the Council throws at us along the way. Lieutenant Harper leaned forward, her brows furrowed. And what if we fail? What if this is too much for us? Elise's gaze swept across the room, her voice firm. Then we failed trying. But I refuse to let humanity go down without a fight. The crew exchanged glances, the weight of her words settling over them. One by one, they nodded, their resolve hardening. The Pioneer's transformation began immediately. The crystalline key unlocked hidden functionalities within the ship, revealing compartments and systems that hadn't been touched since its construction. The crew worked tirelessly, guided by the custodian's schematics. Days turned into weeks, and the Pioneer became something entirely new, a fusion of humanity's ingenuity and the lost technologies of their ancestors. The ship's hull bristled with weapons, its engines burned with unprecedented power, and its shields shimmered with an energy that seemed almost alive. But as the final modifications were completed, an alert sounded throughout the ship. Captain! Harper called out from the bridge, her voice tight with urgency. We've got incoming. Multiple ships. Council vessels. Elise rushed to the bridge, her heart pounding. The view screen displayed a fleet of alien ships closing in on their position. These weren't scouts, they were warships, their sleek designs bristling with weapons. They're not wasting any time, Lucas said grimly. Elise clenched her fists. Good. Neither are we. The Pioneer surged forward, its new engines roaring to life. The alien fleet opened fire, but the ship's enhanced shields absorbed the blasts with ease. Elise barked orders, and the crew responded with precision, their months of preparation culminating in this moment. The battle was fierce. The Pioneer's new weaponry tore through the enemy's ships, but the Council's forces were relentless. For every ship they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. We can't hold out much longer, Harper shouted as the ship shuddered under another barrage. Elise gritted her teeth. Lucas, do we have enough power to use the new drive? Lucas hesitated. It's risky. The system's untested. Do it! Elise ordered. The Pioneer's engines flared, and a surge of energy rippled through the ship. In an instant, it vanished, reappearing light years away. The crew erupted in cheers, but Elise's expression remained grim. This was just the beginning, she said quietly. Lucas nodded. The Council knows what we're capable of now. They'll come at us harder. Elise's gaze hardened. Then we'll be ready. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting to reclaim what's ours. The galaxy won't know what hit it. As the Pioneer set course for the first of the ancient forges, the crew steeled themselves for the battles ahead. Humanity's destiny was no longer in question. It was a promise to rise, to fight, and to conquer.